Controversial transfer of Donnarumma to Manchester City. Tottenham strengthens with a £150 million haul. Liverpool signs an England international. And Manchester United's record transfer. All of this and more in today's episode. Tottenham is preparing a transfer revolution after the loss of Son Heung-min, who moved to LAFC, and a serious injury to James Maddison. The club is urgently looking for new creative forces and is now holding parallel negotiations for two players, Savinho from Manchester City and Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace. Both deals are independent but have one goal: to save an attacking line that has lost its balance. A new detail has emerged in the Savinho case. Manchester City is willing to include a buyback option if Tottenham insists on a permanent transfer. This could be a compromise that allows the Spurs to lower the initial fee to €45 million, while leaving City with control over the player's future. Negotiations are ongoing, and sources at the club say the deal could be closed by the end of the week if Savinho officially requests a transfer. The player himself is openly interested in changing clubs, especially after his role at City began to diminish due to the arrival of Ryan Cherki and the potential transfer of Rodrigo from Real Madrid. Thomas Frank sees Savinho as the ideal wide playmaker, which would allow Kudus to play closer to the centre. The club is already analysing rotation options, a possible sale of Bryan Gil, a loan for Giovanni Lo Celso, and a bet on a forward trio of Savinho, Kudus, Scarlett, which could become the youngest attack in the Premier League's top six. At the same time, Tottenham has returned to negotiations for Eze. The 27-year-old Englishman has long been on the Spurs shortlist since his time at QPR, and Frank sees him as the ideal option for a playmaking role. Assistant Eze himself is interested in the move, but everything depends on Palace. His £68 million release clause has expired, and now the club can dictate the terms. Tottenham wants to agree on a more favourable fee, but competition from Arsenal and potential interest from Manchester City complicate the situation. Arsenal has already agreed to a £55 million transfer, but the deal is stalled because Palace has not yet found a replacement. If the club does not find a new playmaker by August 20th, the deal could be postponed to January. Tottenham knows this and is ready to hijack Eze if the deal for Savinho falls through. However, according to information from the club, the either-or option is no longer relevant. Frank wants both, and the management is already seeking funding through the sales of Bissouma and Højbjerg. Eze had a brilliant season: 14 goals, 11 assists in 43 matches, winning the FA Cup and the Super Cup. Savinho had 48 matches, 3 goals and 13 assists, but lost his starting place. Both are in form, and both are ready for a new challenge. And if Tottenham can close both deals, it won't just be a reinforcement, but a statement of intent to rebuild their style of play. Manchester United is preparing for a new series of negotiations for Carlos Baleba, the 21-year-old Brighton midfielder who has become Ruben Amorim's main target after the transfers of Šeško, Mbeumo and Cunha. The club has already made contact through intermediaries, and according to the latest data, Baleba has approved the move, and personal terms will not be an issue. However, Brighton has no intention of letting the player go easily. United's first offer, player plus cash, was rejected, and the price for Baleba has reached £100 to £105 million, making the deal extremely difficult. The club from the Amex Stadium considers Baleba a top-tier talent, even more promising than Moises Caicedo, who was sold to Chelsea for £115 million in 2023. Atmosphere at the club and the new coach's vision. His desire to join Amorim's project is evident, especially after the club lost Eriksen and has doubts about Casemiro's form. But United is not the only contender. Manchester City is also preparing a move, as Guardiola has long admired Baleba and sees him as the successor to Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. If United doesn't speed up, the deal could be hijacked. United's management is considering options to finance the transfer, in particular through the sale of Garnacho, which could provide the impetus to complete the deal. The club also does not rule out having to wait until the final days of the window to lower the price or force Brighton to change its position. The situation around Baleba is not just a transfer, but a battle for the future of United's midfield. Jacob Ramsey is on the verge of a move to Newcastle United. The club has already started negotiations with Aston Villa, and the transfer is gaining momentum. Eddie Howe is a big fan of Ramsey, and the player reciprocates. Newcastle is becoming his priority, despite interest from West Ham and Tottenham. Ramsey, 24, has rejected several offers for a new contract with Aston Villa and is now open to a move. Last season, he made 46 appearances, scored 4 goals, and provided 7 assists, and even scored in the Champions League, but he started in only half of the matches. This raised questions about his role in Unai Emery's team. Aston Villa is ready to sell the player for a fee of around £40 to £43 million, partly due to financial fair play pressure. Since Ramsey is a club academy product, his sale means a pure profit on the balance sheet, which makes the deal even more attractive for Villa. For Newcastle, this is a strategic reinforcement. After the loss of Elliot Anderson and Joe Willock's injury, Ramsey could become a key player in the midfield, alongside Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali. His versatility allows him to play both centrally and on the wings, which fits perfectly into Howe's system. West Ham is not out of the race yet. Graham Potter is interested in the player, and Ramsey is also not against the move. But if the Hammers do not make a decisive move, Newcastle could close the deal in the coming days. If the transfer happens by Saturday, Ramsey could make his debut against Aston Villa. An irony of fate, isn't it? Liverpool is preparing a double transfer strike. The club is in active negotiations for Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace and Giovanni Leoni from Parma. Both defenders could join the reigning Premier League champions before the transfer window closes. According to Fabrizio Romano and The Times, Liverpool has already agreed to personal terms with Guehi and is in talks with Palace for a fee of around £35 million, including bonuses. Guehi's contract expires next summer, and the Eagles do not want to lose their captain for free, so they are open to a sale. The player himself is positive about the move, and Arne Slot sees him as a key figure for a defensive rebuild. At the same time, the club is working on the transfer of 18-year-old Giovanni Leoni, a talent from Parma who is being called the best young centre-back in Europe. Leoni admires Virgil van Dijk's play and has already expressed a desire to move to Liverpool. Parma is ready to sell him for approximately 35 to 40 million euros, and although Inter and AC Milan are also interested in the player, financial constraints may prevent them from making an offer. It is important that Guehi and Leoni are not alternatives, but parallel targets, and Liverpool wants to sign both. This is because Jarell Quansah has already moved to Bayer Leverkusen. Ibrahima Konate may leave next summer, and Joe Gomez is injured again. Van Dijk is approaching the end of his career, and the club urgently needs depth at centre-back. Luis Enrique has officially excluded Gianluigi Donnarumma from the PSG squad for the UEFA Super Cup match against Tottenham in Udine, confirming that it is his personal decision. "I want a different type of goalkeeper. Gigi is one of the best in the world, but I take all the responsibility," the coach said. "This is not just rotation, but a clear signal. PSG is changing course. After the transfer of Lucas Chevalier from Lille for €40 million, he has become the new number one, and Donnarumma has been officially put up for sale. The Italian's contract expires in the summer of 2026. Negotiations for an extension have failed, and the club fears a repeat of the Mbappe scenario, losing a star for free. Donnarumma himself does not want to spend the season without playing time before the 2026 World Cup, so he is looking for a club where he will be the undisputed first-choice goalkeeper. Interest has been shown by Manchester United, Bayern, and Juventus, but the main contender has surprisingly become Manchester City. Pep Guardiola personally admires Donnarumma and has already held talks with PSG about the terms of a deal. City is ready to make a move, but only if Ederson is sold, as he is actively being courted by Galatasaray. PSG wants around €50 million, but City considers this amount inflated, given that Donnarumma's contract is nearing its end. If Ederson leaves, City will have both the budget and a place for a new goalkeeper, and the transfer could be closed in the final days of the window. Interestingly, Chelsea has officially withdrawn from the race, and United currently does not have the budget due to other major transfers. This leaves City as the favourite, although Italian clubs, Inter and Juventus, are also monitoring the situation, but do not have the financial capacity to act immediately. Donnarumma has already played 161 matches for PSG, winning the Champions League, 4 Ligue 1 titles, 2 French Cups, and 3 Super Cups. But his era in Paris seems to be coming to an end, and here is the official statement from Donnarumma himself. "I always gave my all to defend the PSG goal. Someone decided that I am no longer needed. It hurts. I am disappointed and depressed. Thank you to the fans for their love and to the team for every moment. If this is the end, I will leave with my head held high. Thank you, Paris. So Donnarumma has said goodbye to PSG, and the transfer intrigue is just beginning. Nottingham Forest is closing one of the most interesting deals of the summer. James McAtee is moving from Manchester City on a permanent basis. The parties are in the final stages of negotiations, and a deal worth over £20 million is expected soon. According to Fabrizio Romano, personal terms have been fully agreed upon, and the player himself preferred Forest, despite interest from Tottenham and Eintracht. McAtee, who had 2 successful loan seasons at Sheffield United and won the U21 European Championship with the England youth team, had no chance of breaking into City's starting lineup due to competition from Foden, Silva and Kovacic. Last season, he played 27 matches, scoring 7 goals, but only started 3 times in the Premier League. That's why a move to Forest is a chance to become a key player in Nuno Espirito Santo's team, which is preparing to participate in the Europa League after a sensational CAS decision that stripped Crystal Palace of European football. Forest has lost Danilo and Lewis O'Brien, so McAtee will become a central figure in the revamped midfield. The contract is expected to be signed until 2030, and City will receive not only compensation but also a possible buyback option that will allow them to bring the player back if he progresses rapidly. Manchester United is preparing to activate Harry Kane's release clause, which will become active in the summer of 2026. Under the terms of his contract with Bayern Munich, the English forward can be bought for a fixed fee of £56 million, and the club from Old Trafford is already planning to make a move if the situation is favourable. Kane, who will be 33, does not rule out a return to the Premier League, especially given his desire to break Alan Shearer's record. Harry currently has 213 goals and is 47 goals behind. However, this transfer will depend heavily on the performance of Benjamin Šeško, whom United just signed from RB Leipzig for £66 million. The Slovenian forward is already preparing for his debut match against Arsenal. Ruben Amorim sees him as the new number 9, and if Šeško adapts quickly and starts scoring consistently, the club may abandon the idea of signing Kane. But if his performance is inconsistent, bringing back Harry will become not just an option, but a necessity. Šeško has already stated that United's history is special, but he is most inspired by the future and that he wants to help the club fly high again. The club believes in his potential, but the pressure will be immense. Fans are expecting results in the very first match. Thus, the Kane transfer is not just a matter of money or the player's desire. It is a strategic decision that depends on whether Šeško can become what United has been looking for many years. In the meantime, the club is closely monitoring the form and developments surrounding Harry Kane. That's it for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Keep watching for more football action and have a wonderful day.